On this episode, name, plan, execute. Hey everybody, this is the quarter show and we're talking about naming, planning, and executing. This relates to sales, this relates to how to get things done. So let's just compartmentalize here. When you're looking at your sales cycle, obviously I think there's things that drop out. These are very simple, by the way. This is very basic stuff I'm talking about, but it's very important to keep in at all times. We all drop things out, we all miss over. It's the simple things that drop out, that you stop doing, that you overlook. It's the simple things that are incredibly effective, right? So number one is naming. Naming, what does that mean? Writing it down. Write it down or have it lined up somewhere. For me, I write it down. I use a legal pad, I write it down, and I write, okay, dollar figure, company name, person's name, telephone number, whatever. I name the cycles. I may have 15, 20, 30 cycles that I'm working on, specifically looking at those cycles, and you name them out. Boom, got this cycle, this company, this cycle, this cycle, this cycle. You name them out. That's step one. Naming them out is good. It's a very, very important step, but it's not the complete picture. So take your time, usually the night before. I find it effective the night before. Take your time to literally look at the next day and say, pull out your legal pad or a piece of paper or whatever, a little moleskin journal or something, and write it out. Go, what cycles do I have for tomorrow? Take the time. By the way, all of this stuff just make your life a little easier. Do your homework for yourself to make your life less efforty and easier when it comes to sales. The more organized you are when it comes to sales, the better you can execute, the easier you can execute, okay? It's very hard to execute if you're disorderly, okay? So name it out, write it out the night before, right? Dollar figure, company name, person's name, telephone number, write it out there, so you have it. So the next day you can just focus on that. The next thing is to plan. It's one thing to name it out, but if you don't have a plan, if you just have, I'm going to go close ABC company, but you don't have a plan, you're not going to get very far. So the plan is articulating, define, what do you need to do? What is the actionable, doable thing, the executable thing that you need to do? Whether it's that you need to call, Chuck, the CMO at XYZ company, and so you need to call Chuck and ask him if the proposal looks good and if it does, to sign off. Whatever that named out step is, name it out and put the plan so it's clearly articulated. Because if you have a cycle and you can't articulate the plan in clear language, you can't say, if I say, what is the plan? And you say, I don't know, and you don't know what that exactly is. What is the next executable action? If you don't have that plan lined out, you're making your life a lot harder than it needs to be. Have a plan for every single cycle, at every single stage that you're going. As soon as you execute a plan, you scratch that off and you make a new plan, because now you're at a new step, right? So, for example, if the plan, that next action is, I gotta create the proposal and send the proposal over to Chuck at ABC Company. Good, do that, right? And you scratch that off, and then once that's done, you write the new plan in terms of what needs to happen. But you need to have a clearly articulated plan. So number one is name it. Number two is have a plan. If you have those two things, obviously you're getting ahead. And number three is execute, right? If you don't do number one, name, you don't do number two, plan, or if you do number one, you do number two, and you don't do three, execute, it's pointless. It doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't mean anything. If you don't execute what you put together, it doesn't mean anything, And so you have to execute. And you have to look at what you've named out, you have to look at the plan, and then you have to actually go and do the plan. You have to go execute. That sounds ridiculously simple, but a lot of people don't do it. Did you make that call? No. Did you send that email? No. Did you do this? No, I haven't got to it yet. Okay, you got to execute. You got to execute for it to work. You got to go take action. But it's very hard to execute. People talk about hustle, grind, grit, all this kind of stuff. That's all great. If you name it and you have a plan, great, right? But it's actually difficult to just do the work and execute if you don't have those earlier steps, because you're executing what? You're just executing vagueness. You don't know what to execute. You don't know where to go. I don't know, what deal, which one, I don't know. And then what am I going to do? I don't know. You don't have those earlier steps in, so it makes it hard to execute, and then you find yourself not executing. You find yourself not doing the work. Why? Because the earlier two steps are not done. So you got to do name, you got to do plan, and then you got to execute. But then sometimes people have name and plan done and they don't execute. That's a work ethic thing. That's a confront thing. That's a fear thing. You have to execute. But I'm telling you right now, if you do those three things, if you name, if you plan, and if you execute, and you do it over and over again at scale, at the right volume, you're going to blow up. You're going to get deals. You're inevitably going to close deals. I don't care what your sales technique is. I don't care what your closing pattern is. I don't care about any of those things. If you do those three things over and over and over and over again, you're going to close deals. You're going to get better. Your experience is going to get better, and you're going to close deals. Make your life a lot easier for yourself by focusing on getting those things in. Don't make a career out of doing them. Obviously, don't take all the time in the world. Take a little time. Do it the night before. Name it. Make sure you have a plan for every single cycle that you just named out, and then go execute. And keep in mind, this is a daily thing in sales. This is something you should do every day. It's a little redundant in sales, but every day is a new day. Every single time, it's a new opportunity to go do this again. You have to refresh. Once you execute, once you go through the name, you plan, you execute, you got to go and scratch out a new pad and go do that again. Over and over and over and over and over again. And that's how you get good. But again, it's very hard to execute if you don't have a plan. It's very hard to execute if you haven't named them out. It's very hard if your plan is vague, right? And so you got to. There's a difference between saying close a lot of deals, which is vague and you don't know how to execute that, or call Chuck at ABC and make sure the proposal is very good, and if it's what they want, then ask him to close or whatever. Ask him to sign the deal. Writes the most clear language that you can possibly write, like pick up this book over here. The more you do that, and then when you execute that, it's very easy to execute very definitive orders. Pick up that cup over there. Good, done. It's very simple to execute a clearly articulated order. Okay? So make your life a lot easier, and if you do that times 20, 30, 40 deals, and you have that every single day, you're going to get traction, you're going to get deals. So remember that. Name, plan, and execute. And start putting that in. Start putting that in every day. You're going to get a better response rate. You're going to get more traction. You're going to find that it's a lot more enjoyable overall. It's very frustrating trying to do things that are vague and you don't have the organization, and then it just makes it for chaotic hustle. Chaotic hustle doesn't really work that well. Okay? Hope you like that. If you like the show and you haven't subscribed yet, do me a favor and hit the old subscribe button right there. Really, really appreciate it. Share it with your sales team, okay? Share it with your sales team. Share it with any other salesperson you know or any entrepreneur you know. I'd love to have them subscribe. And if you like it, hit the like button, okay? Thanks. We'll have more coming at you soon.